About to catch up with the Daily Mail's Wayne Flower, who joins us each and every week to cover, I suppose, the stories behind the scene that we don't readily remember or have got a chance to catch up on. Richard Pusey is someone who has been very much in the news for all the wrong reasons. Again, another story. What is it this time?
Well, Richard Pusey is continuing to go through the justice system in Victoria. He's reached a point now where there's suppression orders in place because he eventually will face a jury trial if it proceeds to trial. So we have to be a little bit careful about what we can say about Mr. Pusey. But I just thought it's interesting in the background to talk about, and this has come out in a previous magistrate's court hearing, that he's not the only person who took footage of the
fatal scenes that night.
That's right. 4 police officers, of course, were killed pulling over Richard Pusey, and he has filmed them and the likes and got himself into all sorts of trouble. But
he then posted them again. Did he not the next day? Did he not?
No, he didn't. Okay. He shared them.
So the vision that he took has never been shared?
He shared it with a federal police officer just to ask for some advice. Like, I think I'm in trouble here.
Yeah.
There was another person at the scene of that tragic accident.
Has he been identified?
He's been identified.
And what's happened to him?
Well, he's taken some footage, made some
remarks,
choice remarks at the time, and gone a step further than Pusey and posted it to social media. Now, that gentleman remains free as a bird at large and has had nothing to answer.
A Victorian citizen?
Sorry?
A Victorian citizen?
Yes, Victorian citizen.
Okay.
But I just find it...
A double standard? Is that what you're concerned about?
Well, it could be seen that way. I mean, I'm no fan of Richard Pusey, but I also think it's interesting that the police choose to prosecute Pusey, who they were pulling over, of course, whereas another individual who some might say went a step further in posting it to social media has not been charged. So.
Wow.
But anyway, food for thought.
Now, there's another story that's been doing the rounds. Concerns a guy who's been a colourful character for quite some time. Toby Mitchell is his name. And again, these stories tend to emerge, especially when you have CCTV footage or someone has filmed it. What does it depict this time?
Yeah, Toby was caught on camera, as there are cameras everywhere. 2 incidents, which he's pleaded guilty to now, unlawful assaults. One, he's seen slapping a friend of his around, who turns out, it was in the news today, that his friend was seeing one of these reality starlets who has said that his friend has been bad-mouthing him behind his back, and Toby's instantly got up and slapped him around, and he's been charged with CCTV. But the
second bit of footage?
The second bit of footage was a bit more interesting in that the police alleged that a homeless man at 3 a.m. in the morning in South Bank
has decked Toby Mitchell.
Decked Toby Mitchell. And Toby Mitchell, mind you, had a whole entourage of friends. Of course, Toby Mitchell is the president of the Mongols outlaw motorcycle gang here in Melbourne. So Toby has pleaded guilty to that and will be sentenced in 6 months.
But you have reason to believe that man wasn't a hobo.
Well...
May well have been a professional boxer.
He was never found, this gentleman, and Toby's legal team would suggest that, well, he should have been charged too with an affray, because there was a big public sort of box on. This homeless person allegedly is seen dancing around on his feet like a boxer, wearing what appears to be boxing type boots.
Yeah, attire. Yeah.
So the suggestion is that this man was known to Toby Mitchell.
Saw the opportunity and decked him.
Had been waiting there and got into a blue with him, and that's why none of Toby's friends went and decked him after. I mean, it's strange to see a man like that and everyone standing around letting this fight occur without jumping in. It doesn't seem like the the bikie
Good
play.
Samaritans have learnt from past experiences that you pick and choose your fights, and with colourful characters, it's not a really big thing to put your hand up, make yourself very visible. Another bit of news just before we let you go concerns the horror story out of Tullamarine, where a mother has, as we know now, had a hand in killing her 3 children. That is going to go before the courts, is that right?
No. Well, it might go towards the courts in some sort of coronial inquest as to what has occurred to that led this to happen, whether she'd had any interaction with health agencies at all. I'm not sure, but it's been quite some time now since that happened. It was around Australia Day. My understanding is now that the coroner has indeed released those bodies.
The bodies of 3 children.
And they've been buried privately, so it's just tragic.
You can imagine the furor that triple murder elicited. The last thing you'd want is to go through a burial ceremony with 3 small coffins. The quieter you can make it, I would think that the family would be absolutely traumatised. The last thing they would want would be to go through even more turmoil, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as a reporter, look, I perhaps might be a little bit grateful that we were unaware of it and let them bury these children in peace.
Yeah, what a horror story. Anything else before we let you go?
No, just Jordan Degoe, the Collingwood forward.
Hang on a second, you're not stepping on Alex Kayafa's AFL territory here with this report, is it?
No, not at all. It's got a crime angle. He's of course going through the courts on an allegation of indecent assault. He today has got a date for that. Effectively, will be a magistrate-run trial.
So what's the date?
August 9 to 14, 3 days, 6
So
witnesses.
in the middle of the AFL season?
Well, I think there'll be 2 games to run, so we'll be approaching the pointy end where you would hope that Collingwood would be looking to romp straight into that final series. So it's not really ideal to have a player like Degoe facing potential jail if found guilty right up near finals time.
Well, I was going to say, we've seen this before. The St Kilda player Stephen Milne had a similar situation, having to play while under this particular scrutiny. He got through it, and the AFL survived. So a Collingwood star now scheduled to appear before the courts in August.
Can you imagine a Collingwood player going into finals, potentially facing a sentence?
As if Collingwood hasn't had enough headlines this week. Wayne Flower, just giving us a taste of some of the stories that have been making headlines behind the scenes. The Daily Mail is his paper. If you haven't had a chance to catch up with it, by all means do. You can follow Wayne Flower, of course, on TheInformer.tv. We do all the podcasts there and give you an opportunity to catch up with any stories that he's been involved with for the past year or so. Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, George.